Welcome to Spirit Journey Collective. I'm your host, Sarah Ty. Get ready for compelling conversations with guests of all walks of life who believe they have found their purpose. Together, we will uncover unique backstories, hearing the raw experiences that led them to the work they are doing today. Let's expand our minds together with the captivating stories and inspiration that awaits. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Spirit Journey Collective. I have a really great guest today. Her name is Alicia Hurtt. She's a servant leader, which covers doula, minister, holistic wellness coach. She's a mom, wears a lot of hats. We're going to focus a lot more on the holistic wellness coaching today. Thank you so much for being here today, Alicia.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. Would you maybe take a moment to explain what it means to you to be a servant leader and everything that you offer?
Absolutely. Just knowing that in all I do, I'm serving God. So whether it's as a doula, as a mother, as a minister, or as a life coach, guess what? I am serving God and serving you.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. What brought you into this work? Have you always been a doula, always been a holistic wellness coach, or is it something that you stumbled on?
Well, it was my life's journey. And as I said, I serve in all I do. I mean, I've been serving since I've been in grade school. That is just a part of me, and I thank God for it. It fulfills me. Like with gift giving, I like to be the one giving because I like to see the expressions and it just gratifies me. So, just in that same vein, me going through infertility, being married almost 10 years and not being successful, and just how I felt alone, I said to myself, Lord, I want to give back. And so I put it in a book. But lo and behold, putting it in a book started my journey in helping in this lane, in this work, and navigating, helping women. And so we've developed a nonprofit called I See My Baby. And literally, my journey is the program, how we set it up. So if you're navigating infertility, whether it's physical infertility or spiritual, meaning you're barren or you're trying to birth something and you cannot, we're there to support you. If you have a lack of faith, we're there to help you build your faith, help you to understand what it means to have God as your source and as your strength and to uplift you. If you're battling depression and mental health issues, which I did along my journey, we give you those tools and support you in that as well. And so that is what brought me to becoming a doula because I want to birth those babies. And then also becoming a certified life coach because, of course, you got to have credentials so people understand you know what you're talking about. But it also aligns with the program that we have.
I love that story. And I see it over and over again. It's this, pain to purpose, right? Where you take what you had to learn and now you're able to help those that, are in a place where maybe you wish you had that kind of help back when you were going through it. I would love to ask, as far as the infertility journey, you mentioned that you're a mom. Was that something that you were able to overcome?
Thank God for Jesus. Yes, I did, though, have a long journey. So, like I said, we were married almost 10 years, and everyone's asking you what's going on. And then you're looking at your husband like, is it you? Is it me? And then a friend of mine's at work was like, try in vitro. It worked for me because I was in a very vulnerable state, and we tried it. We got pregnant twice, but the baby did not choose to stay. And so even in that, I had to go through loss time and time again. And then we pondered on adoption. We pondered on all different type of avenues, but that just wasn't for us. And so I was like, Lord, I have a desire to be a mother. What should I do? I went back to the doctor because if anybody knows me, I don't give up at all. Like no just means not right now. I don't give up. And so in that, he sent me to a specialist and she opened my uterus lining a little more. And I went back to him like, well, what's next? And he's like, well, there's nothing else we can do other than in vitro. Well, when I stopped trying, because my husband was like, what you went through and what we went through, we're not doing it again. And it just was a no. And I needed his consent to move forward, with his his goods. So we didn't try it, but lo and behold, God spoke to my husband, and that's for all the ladies out there. Like you definitely have to have your mate, your better half, because when I was battling depression, when I felt a lack of faith, God spoke to him to uplift me, and God told him we needed to move closer to my family because we were going to have a baby. And so when he told me that, I was like, well, if God told you that, I guess that's him talking, because I'm mad at him. He's not listening to me. He's not, doing what my heart's desires. And we did move, and indeed we got pregnant. And so I have 3 kids now. I have 3 girls and one beautiful baby boy. And that literally was the desires of my heart. And so I talk to women day in and day out to say, like it says in the word, the prayer of the righteous availeth much. And so if you envision it, if you manifest it and you believe it, I'm telling you, it will come to pass. It may not be your timing. For me, it took almost 10 years, right? But then God started blessing me in abundance.
You said a couple of things that I just so appreciate when you said no, no, no just means not right now. And that's powerful. That's understanding that, it's there's a bigger time frame, right? We can only see what we're able to see here, but then there's the bird's eye view of, higher power who can know what's going to happen, who knows what, when the right time is. And that really leans into a lot of surrender too, because at that point, you said that it was basically when you stopped was when the door opened. And which reminds me, there's a saying of like going against least resistance. It's like you kind of just stopped resisting and just was like, okay, whatever is meant to be, let it be. And it sounds like that's when the door finally opened for you, but you had to go through that experience of loss, which I'm so sorry for that experience. I know that it's a really difficult one, especially when when you want to be a mom. It's so hard to be in that space. So I mean, I want to first honor that experience that you went through, but it does sound like it was what you learned along the way to help you get to the place where you were finally ready.
Amen. It shaped me, it molded me. And when the baby came, and I remember my mom would say, God rest her soul, like when that baby gets here and that baby's acting up and carrying on, you better not say nothing. You better enjoy every moment because you cried. You wanted this, you prayed. And my husband tells me that now. When I'm like, he's like, nope, you pray for it. You asked for it. You got it.
And parenthood is a whole other journey too, right? I think I've
This.
learned so much about myself and my spirituality being a parent. Just learning about like how I was parented and how I don't want to parent that way. And there's like a whole other slew of learning that comes with the other side of that too.
Like I'm parenting right now as we're doing this podcast. We're at the park. He's crying. So I'm just rubbing his head like, let mommy be professional. So in full transparency, that's what I'm doing. You got to
You know what?
multitask. You got
Got
to
to
be
wear those different
flexible.
hats, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, poor baby.
He'll be fine. He's a boy. He's tough. Yes, ma'am. But it's a
So,
blessing.
yeah, I would love to ask. So, you have like a women's center, right? Where you actually have like a location for like people to come and get the support that they need. Do you want to? Can you share a little bit more about like what it took to create that and have it come to pass?
Absolutely. The key word is what you said originally, surrender. My mom transitioned June 7th, 2023. And I literally said to my husband, when she does transition, I don't want to be where we are anymore, which was in Maryland. Been there all my life. I want to transition. I want to be somewhere warm and just start over. And my husband literally was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I'm quitting my job because I felt in my heart, if my mom passed before the age of 60 and did not enjoy her retirement, I don't want that to be my lot. I want to live. I want to be able to live and also not just work so hard to achieve, but enjoy it while I'm here. And we did that and we moved to a place where we don't know anyone, right? In Bainbridge, Georgia, Southwest Georgia. It was a faith walk. It was a true test of our faith, but I was ready. And we've been here almost a year now. And I was driving down the street because, listen, I'm on my grieving journey, right? So I'm just taking it easy. In my mind, I had the concept of the wellness center, but I was actually going to go back and forth to Maryland to do it. Don't know why I thought that. But I was driving in town and I saw a sign, and the rest was history. And when I tell you the process was so smooth, that's how I know it was God. That's how I knew it was divine timing. And we have been able to impact so many women's lives since we've been here. We've only been open since January. And when I tell you, God has truly shown me above and beyond what I could even imagine how we're able to really help women break down barriers, start to open up discussions about what we really go through. That a lot of times, especially in the Southern culture, it's frowned upon. You don't really talk about some of the things. You suffer in silence, as women, because that's something you don't really want to talk about. You got to be discreet, right? And so we're opening up those discussions and we're giving tools and resources. Man, could you see us next year? Like, and God is going to move miraculously. Like, I can just feel it in my bones. But we provide yoni steaming, which is something that helps women from puberty age all the way to postmenopause. We also provide doula services. We provide life coaching empowerment. I have written over 49 books and have ghostwrited over 5 books so far. And so we provide those services as well. So the biggest part of what we do, if you remember it in a nutshell, is that we empower women. So no matter where you are on your journey, we have the resources for you. And recently we have started a men's program because a lot of men have reached out to me saying, I love what you're doing for the women, but we need help too. We suffer as well in silence with mental health issues, how to be a father, because it is different from 1965 to 2025. It looks very different. We need tools, we need resources, we need fellowship, we need devotion. And so we brought on our program director, Mr. Reeves. He's supporting with that. We're mentoring in the schools. We have also established a food program. Our goal is to feed 1,000 this year, and our first feeding we did 129. So that's just a little bit about what we're doing, and we're evolving. But I am here living in my purpose, and even though it is hard work, but I'm serving, and it feels good.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, truly, it sounds like you really are like listening to your calling and you're taking those steps one day at a time. And I mean, and I love what you're offering because it's outside of the box thinking. It's more like energy healing, and which I think is, you know, it doesn't get as much attention as it should because a lot of our blocks are mental and energetic. That's why dis-ease is dis-ease. It's in the soul, right? And so it sounds like you guys offer that, but I really, really love how you're speaking about men too, because that's one thing I've noticed doing my podcast is that I feel like a lot of women are getting this support which we've needed and we need more of it. And I love that so much. But in order for the men to catch up, they need it too. And so, like, that's 100% like they need to have that safe space where they can work on their healing. And it's like it has to go hand in hand for all of us. Like you said, fellowship, like all of us to raise together instead of like one, there's that imbalance. So, I mean, it just sounds like you're doing really beautiful things. I mean, the feeding 1,000 people, it sounds like you might even reach that before the end of the year. I mean, that's incredible. And so my next question, which you did kind of already touch on, do you feel like you found what you're meant to be doing here? Like this is your calling?
I do, but I know that there's more. Like in my spirit, I don't feel like I'm empty. I don't know. Like, ask me that in 6 months or a year. But at this moment, I don't feel like I've hit it like the target. Like I'm almost there, but I feel like God is doing. And lately, I have just been saying, okay, yes, Lord. Thank you, Lord, because I don't see it all. And I know if you've done this from January to now, and I just trust you. And when people start to call my phone or they send me an email, like we just had a mobile clinic reach out to us and say, we want to come and serve once a month there, and support your city, your town. And they've never been here. I said, Lord, it's you. I receive you. I'm open. And when you say that, just be ready to receive. That's for that woman out there that is longing and they're seeking. When you put it out there and you tell God, I surrender, I will do, and you can use me how you want, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. because you're handling God and he's going to work with you. I'm telling you. And he's going to intercede and he's going to give you your heart's desire. And that's what we're receiving. So I know that there's more. We're definitely making an impact, but God is getting ready to do more miraculous things here in Bainbridge, Georgia. Just ask me in 6 months or a year.
So I love that answer because I personally believe that our when we're living in our purpose, our gifts, it evolves, right? So like it sounds like you're in the season of I am the vessel and I'm going to be what you need me to be. And you're obviously like in your gifts, right? You're in your skill sets while you're doing this work. And so those skill sets might evolve. The work you're doing might, it's kind of like when you go from being like the one-on-one counselor to the book writer who's now reaching more people because you went from the one-on-one to, okay, now I'm going to reach a community. So, I mean, yeah, it just sounds like you're really like living day to day and what lights you up, and you're giving back to the world at the same time, which is my definition of purpose, is that it's that both and, right? You do what you love and it's making an impact in some way.
Amen.
So what when it comes to infertility and not just infertility, but like women empowerment, because you kind of work on, it sounds like you work with a lot of mothers, but it sounds like you also work with women too, just in general. What is one common struggle that you kind of see across the board that you see people, women struggling with? And then what's advice you'd give for that struggle?
It is I'm scratching my head because I'm talking to myself too, right? It's imposter syndrome. It's like, am I good enough? Can I really do that? No, not me. And to this day, I have to get over that and say, no, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like, why not Alicia Hurtt? Like, yes, that is you. Yes, you are doing it. Now, of course, stay humble. Stay humble. Stay in that place of humility, but also recognize what God is doing, what he can do through you and in your life. Get past that. Start journaling. Get it out your mind. Why are you feeling like this? Why do you think that you're not good enough, right? What is it? What are some things that you want to see, right? Put it on paper and then put your barriers down. Why you think you can't do it. And then put on there how you can. Maybe even search the scripture. Google it. It's so easy now. You don't have to just flip the pages of a Bible, right? Google it. How can I get past this? I want to write a book. How can I get past this? What are some easy steps in order for me to write that book? Steps that I can take, right? I want to open a business. What are some steps that I can do? As you write it down, I'm telling you, it'll encourage you. And take little steps. You don't have to say, all right, I heard what Alicia said, and I'm going to open up a whole salon. No, I'm not saying that because you have to be wise, right? So you take the steps. Maybe it's researching the name that I'm considering. Is it available? What are the steps to get registered in my state? What are some of the supplies that I need? What is some research? Is it feasible to open it in this area versus another area? What is the market research saying, right? Take those steps and believe that you can do it. Our three words that we use that are very impactful is to envision it, it's to manifest it, and it's to believe it. Quick story with me wanting to have children. A friend of mine's at work had a dream, and God gives people visions for you. And you got to discern and make sure it's for you as well. Like, that's the caveat. But she said, I saw you in a orange dress and you had your baby. She said, and I want you to go out and buy clothes and put it in the closet for your baby. And I had my mother to sew me a orange night clothes, just how she told me in the vision. And I went and I bought those clothes and I hung it in the closet. And someone just thinking carnal minded, they'll say, that's crazy. You don't have the baby. Why are you doing that? And it's because I am calling my baby to my womb. I am trusting, I am envisioning, I am manifesting, and I'm believing that I'm going to have that baby. And that baby's going to wear this outfit. That baby's going to be in my arms. I'm going to soothe that baby. And I'm telling you, I'm a living testimony. Even after all of those miscarriages, all of those losses that we went through, I have four. And I had to have my tubes ligated because the floodgates were open. So that's my little wisdom and tidbit and advice. Like, don't let imposter syndrome hold you back.
Not everyone wants to talk about their situation or life questions out loud. And that's okay. That's why my email tarot readings are a perfect fit for the inward seekers, the ones who feel deeply, process everything, and don't always have the words or the energy for a live session. Here's how it works. You send your question, I tune in, pull cards, and record a 17 to 25 minute voice message, channeling what comes through around your question and situation. You'll also receive a photo of the cards pulled, all delivered to your inbox within 24 hours. My intention is always to honor your journey with sincerity and heart-aligned guidance. If this feels like the kind of support you've been craving, let's connect. You can find me at the link below or at www.spiritjourneycollective.com.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think everyone struggles with that on some level. It's just this idea that, we've been taught and conditioned to not own our power. We've been taught and
Yes.
conditioned to play small. And it's like learning how, no, I am powerful. I am here to make a difference, especially when you have that vision, having that belief in yourself to follow through. And I do like your suggestion to write it down, because when we write it down, it takes it, when it's in our head, it's just floating around. There's no like anchor. When you put it down, you're actually making something, you're putting it in reality. Even if it's just
Yes.
on paper, it's being created, at least by writing it down on something tangible. And then your suggestion to just kind of focus on, well, what does it take? Because instead it takes away the, oh, I can't do it, there's too many obstacles, to now you're focusing on, okay, what's the solution, what's the answer versus what's the problem. And it changes the focus. And I really, really appreciate that. I think that's really beautiful advice. And then your story, I mean, it comes back to also your belief, not just in yourself, because that's part of imposter syndrome, is believing in yourself, but also that surrender, right? Because a lot of us are programmed to see to believe. Once we see it, then we can believe it. But and when it comes to faith, right, you have to believe it to see it.
Amen. That's
So,
it.
which is hard. It's so hard to wrap your head around that when you feel like you don't have what you need, when you feel like it's empty, and you're like, well, I don't have it. But it's like, again, yeah, that surrender and that belief, and knowing that we are all powerful beings in our own right. So being able to harness that and trust it. So I love that advice. And also, just, it's so relatable. Everyone knows what imposter syndrome is and what it feels like to not be enough. And that's something I think, again, we all struggle with, but there is ways around it. There is ways healing that and shifting it. What is one lesson that you've learned on this journey? And I know it's been like a 10-year journey from the beginning to now as a whole, but what's one like lesson that you've learned that you would love to pass on to someone else who maybe hasn't learned that yet, that you think could be really helpful?
If my husband's listening, he's going to be like, yep, I told her years ago. But it is talk less and listen more. Seems so simple, but it's so hard. Talk less. And that can be to individuals, that could be even to God. God knows your heart. You put your petition out, listen, and He's going to talk to you through dreams, through visions, through situations, through experiences. Talk less, listen more. The answers are going to come. And when they come, you're going to be like, oh my God, that's all I had to do. But it's so hard.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I mean, even just comparing it. So, I'm not personally Christian, but I'm like very, oh, like I guess I'm more just spiritual as a whole.
Spiritual.
I
Yep.
believe in higher power, all of that, guides, whatever. But it's like, it's the same thing when you meditate. When you have to be open to receiving, and even when your thoughts, like sometimes when you're meditating, you're just thinking, 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 thinking. Where's the space to just hear, to
Yes.
just receive it? Whether and it could come, I mean, you could be in meditation asking for answers, and then go out in the world and then just be so focused on everything else, and not like the things that are actually coming to, kind of like that joke, what is it, the guy in who was drowning in the ocean. A boat came, no, waiting for God to save me. A helicopter came, no, waiting for God to save me. He dies, goes to heaven, and God's like, what are you
Like all
doing
that
here?
stuff.
Like,
That's right.
he's like, well, you were supposed to save me. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. It's kind of that same thing as being able to slow down enough to receive, whether it's actual words or, messages. So I just, Yeah, no, that's that's really great advice and very, very helpful. From here, and I feel like your story as a whole is like one giant synchronicity, which is really cool. Just, moving and then finding the building and then things just taking off the way they have. I mean, that's just you following the breadcrumbs, right? The spiritual breadcrumbs. I mean, all of that is just one giant, beautiful synchronicity. But like, so I love synchronicity story time because it's like talking about real life magic, right? It's when you get to know, okay, there's obviously something bigger going on here, right? Do you have any other stories you could share where things just like lined up how they have been in a lot of what you've already shared? But do you have anything else you can add to that?
Well, my whole life, like even to choosing my husband, right? Even to I mean, I could talk about boyfriends. Like, I remember growing up, I had a boyfriend, he wouldn't answer my phone call. And I was like, well, what's going on? And then I dreamt that he like went up to the steps of this house. I could tell him what the girl looked like. And he swore up and down his best friend told on him. And I was like, no, God told me. And see, I didn't even know from then God had my back. I would hang out with the wrong crowd. Everybody else would get away with it. But who got caught? Me, right? Because God had a purpose. He had a plan for me, and it just works like that. It when I tell you it works like that. Even for my husband, and God was like, "You got to make a choice," because of course, I thought I was a little player, and he was like, "Nope, you got to make a choice." And I was like, "Oh, I could choose," and I did, right? And God blessed me with a man that he literally covers me. He's my helpmate. Didn't see that early on because I'm like, I'm woman, hear me roar. But when I said, you know what, I am going to surrender, I'm going to be submissive, I'm going to be humble, I'm going to work through my husband, especially in this move, navigating uncharted territories. My mom left, she went over yonder to complete her work. And just my whole life, man, God has just been direct. Even when I went wayward, He just had a way to bring me on back, bring me on back, bring me on back, and just continue ordering and then always reassuring me through someone saying something, through an opportunity, just in all so many different ways, especially when I'm at the water. That's my place. That's my place of healing, solitude. That's my place of purging and creativity. He just going back to what I said initially, like you just have to listen and be in tune. I love when you talked about the breadcrumbs, those spiritual breadcrumbs, because it's so true. Because when you look back at it, you like, oh, you have a funny way of working with me divinely. Yeah, you just have to be in tune and be connected. You really do.
Yeah, no, it is funny. Like anyone who tells me they've never had a synchronicity, I always say look backwards.
Yes.
Look at how doors opened, even when it seemed like nothing was available. And I love how you even mentioned even when you were like going wayward and making poor decisions, things were bringing you back. And so like obviously in the moment you probably were like, but it was what you needed and it was where you needed to be. And
Yes.
the story with your ex and having that like premonition, basically, like you're a very intuitive person who was given information that ended up being true, which
Yes.
helped you get out of that relationship. And so, it was just I love stories like that because it's like you had the confirmation, like it wasn't just a dream, you weren't just like being paranoid. There was actually something to it, and you were able to go, oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so stories like that, I always kind of get chills because it's like, you can't beat that confirmation. And once you have that, you're like, well, it obviously is what it is, and it was a message to get you back kind of on the right track with the right people. And so, and I also mentioned I like what you said about you and your husband, because I think that there's like, okay, so I guess if I were to lean towards feminism, I am towards just because of the women empowerment thing. But there's part of feminism that's very masculine, which is
Mhm.
that I am woman, hear me roar and all, and that's great. But I think that it's just another program in the masculine narrative versus, there's also this feminine that hasn't been getting a lot of attention. That softness, that leaning in. And I feel like when you're in a relationship that's healthy, you can lean into your divine feminine and be safe and be in that masculine. And so it is that beautiful balance of, you're still in your power. You're not giving your power away to be in your feminine. You're just it's just you're able to soften versus needing to be that warrior, which is definitely more of a masculine energy. And so I love that you touched on that a little bit too.
Absolutely. And it's so freeing. I'm like, so all these years I could have just let go. Like, I could have let him, even though sometimes it takes longer, right? But it gets done. I could have just closed my eyes and said, "Yep, I guess I just wait till tomorrow," and took that stress off of me. I should have did this a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, like, that's part of the learning, though, right? Because
It
we
is.
and the society really does teach to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, no matter what. And there's a time and place for that, but
Yes.
there's also, a lot of us women, I think we really need to learn how to find that balance. And so that was just so beautiful that you touched on that. The final question I always love to ask is it's about legacy. What legacy are you wanting to leave behind for future generations with the work that you're doing?
I want generations to come to understand. First off, the bar is high. So no mediocrity at all. I want you to do your best, and whatever your best is, I want you to do it. I don't want you to give your circumstance an excuse for not striving and doing what you're supposed to do, and also to live out loud. I want them to say, my great great grandmother, she was a ball of fire. She was authentically herself no matter what, right? And I also want them to understand that they're climbing on my shoulders, on my mother's shoulders, on my grandmother's shoulders, on my great grandmother's shoulders. So honor that. Honor that in the way you carry yourself, in the decisions that you make. Know that you're not perfect, but we are rooting for you. We are rooting for you above and beyond. We have prayed for you. We're interceded for you. We've laid the foundation. The other part is that what my mom instilled in me is you have to have a relationship with God for yourself. It's great to have community, to go to church, synagogue, wherever, however, pray, meditate. But when you have a connection for yourself, that connection for yourself, it means a lot more, because in your time of distress, like for me, my mom is not here. So I can't go to her now and say, Mom, can you intercede? Or this is what's going on. No, I have to go to God for myself. I have to draw strength from a higher power for myself. And if she didn't lay that foundation, where would I be? And as we can see, looking right and looking left, we're in a society, in a place where there are a lot of people that lack faith. They lack that spiritual maturity, and they're wayward. They're wayward. They can't take on a lot of stress. They lean towards maybe drugs or alcoholism, or maybe even put that power into a man that may be abusive, right? I want my generations to know that no, you have a relationship with the higher power for yourself. And that will keep you grounded. That will keep you safe. Be yourself. And the bar has been set. Let's go.
I love that. That's I mean, God, everything you mentioned is just beautiful, because it's like, well, first, honoring where we're coming from, right, is important to see how far you're going, how far where you're at now is because of ancestors, right, that led you there. But you living out loud and not settling for just mediocrity, like you said. I mean, and the thing is, we all have different versions of what that looks like. It doesn't
Right.
mean everyone has to go out and do podcasts and do that, but it's when you're living authentically to truly, like, every day to your best, just every day striving to be your best version of yourself, however that looks for you. I mean, that's basically that you're going in knowing that you already are worthy of that,
That's
however
right.
that's supposed to look for you. And even mentioning how we all need connection with our higher power, that is 100%. Like, for me, when I found my spiritual awakening and I found my that connection, that's the first time I started realizing that so many people are, I call it sleepwalking. They're just like, there's just, and that's one of the reasons I love this podcast, because it's bringing in different perspectives and encouraging people who maybe don't feel like they have that spiritual connection. Well, what does that look like for you? Because for me personally, I had to go, like, on my own journey, because I did grow up very Christian, but for me, it just kind of always felt like a shoe that wouldn't fit. And I tried many different times. And then I tried different religions. And for me personally, it's just like, I think all religions are right to a point. And it's just like, that's just how I see it. It's just all encompassing. That's my personal journey. But I had to find it. I had to plug into what resonated with me. And
Yes.
so whatever resonates, whether, whatever it is, so long as it's in love and it gives you that support and you feel like you have that higher power support when you need it, and you're being your best self. I mean, like that's where that connection comes in. And so I love so much that you mentioned that, because it's where faith is, it's where that trust is, that's where you learn how to believe before you see it. I mean, it's all, that's where manifestation comes from. I mean, all the things, right? So it's just like that. I feel like that's such a good important message too. So I love everything you mentioned. This was really just a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad we were able to connect and have you on. Well, some of your services, so I know you also have like the facility that's in person, but some of your coaching, is it also remote as well?
Yeah, so because I'm from the DMV area and I have since COVID been doing coaching, and supporting women, most of my clients are virtual. So we do virtual and we also do in person. Of course, I am in a community which I love. We hug each other. We want to see each other. So we have the facility for that. But definitely anywhere nationwide, I'm a traveler. We do virtual as well.
Okay, perfect. So if listeners want to connect with you as a coach, whether they're local or they're not local but they want to still work with you, how can they find you?
Absolutely. So you can Google me. That's very easy. Alicia Hurtt with two T's. You can also look up I See My Baby, iseemybaby.org. We are the only ones with that name. So we will pop up. And you can book a call with me, a session. You can also follow us. We have a plethora of classes on Eventbrite. So if you go to our website, scroll all the way down, you'll see that we're on all the social media platform. I'm TikToking with my daughter, my oldest daughter. We're having a good time empowering and educating women on the topic of yoni steaming and the benefits of it. So yeah, check us out. But like I said, we're all over social media. You plug us in, you'll see us.
All right, wonderful. I will make sure to put those links in the show notes so listeners can find you if they want to work with you. And yeah, again, thank you for taking the time to connect, to be here, share your wisdom. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me on another inspiring episode. Remember, your purpose is a unique and unfolding path. I hope these conversations have ignited a spark within you. Until next time, keep exploring, growing, and embracing the beautiful adventure of connecting with your purpose. Stay tuned for more meaningful conversations. If you enjoyed the episode today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for joining me on this journey.